in particular helping for the future of Ukraine and also develop the bilateral cooperation, defense cooperation of the two countries. And this agreement will reinforce our security and deepen our cooperation and also lay the foundations of continued cooperation. I'll hand over to the Prime Minister and President Zelenskyy, please.
If you prefer, you can use that. Okay, great. Most welcome to all of you. And more than most of you, welcome, Mr. President. Welcome, Volodymyr. Welcome to Sweden again. We meet here today in Linköping for bilateral cooperation reasons, and we meet in Brussels tomorrow for European cooperation. That says something about the intensity of all the discussions and all the cooperation between Sweden and Ukraine. Just a couple of hours ago, I came directly from the Swedish Parliament ahead of the European Council meeting tomorrow. And I just want you to know that, as in every democracy, we have quite often different opinions about many things in the Swedish Parliament, but not on Ukraine and not on the support for Ukraine. So in Sweden, we stand very united behind you and behind the Ukrainian people. I want you to convey that from the Swedish Parliament. Volodymyr, allow me first a few words in Swedish.
So, as you can hear, my voice is just perfect. Got a cold on Saturday anyway. So here we are in Saab in Linköping. This is no coincidence, where JAS Gripen is constructed, and the latest model, the Series E, which we can see behind us, was delivered to the Swedish Air Force just the other day for the first time. And Swedish engineers behind it, and with Swedish fighter aircraft, the Swedish people will become safer, but Gripen can also make the whole of Europe a safer place. President Zelenskyy and I have just signed a letter of intent. This is a letter of intent between Sweden and Ukraine, and this is the beginning of a long journey. And it will take us one step closer to a major export deal for Saab, for Sweden, together with Ukraine. This means great opportunities for the Air Force of Ukraine in the future, and also for Sweden and its defense industry, but also for a long-term industrial cooperation between Sweden and Ukraine. As you in here already know, and as President Zelenskyy knows better than anybody else, Sweden is one of the greatest military donors to Ukraine in absolute terms. We contribute with artillery, with aircraft, etc. And on the Air Force side, we're contributing with radar surveillance airplanes, AC1G, those of you who are interested. And these are aircraft which reinforce the ability in the older Western aircraft which are now operating in Ukraine. We also contribute with equipment and training. But it's also important, we are learning as well a great deal from Ukraine. And today we have in detail gone through a number of areas where Sweden has listened to the experience of Ukraine, military, civilian, taking that on board from Ukraine, showing that we can benefit from, but then we can also help Ukraine further with. Now, this letter of intent, agreement of intent, is something else. It is not aimed at any new donations at the moment. Instead, it is about a long-term cooperation when it comes to this type of cooperation and the possibility of having a major deal between our two countries, probably between 100 and 150 Gripen aircraft model Series E, which is beginning to be produced now. And this is to build a very strong air force in Ukraine. It would then be part of the growing family using this unique, very flexible fighter system. And this agreement is a clear, mutual statement of will, and it is the beginning of a long journey for the next 10, 15 years. And this long-term ambition doesn't mean to say that we don't understand the great needs in place today to support Ukraine continued against Russia in the war of aggression. Now, for the last few years, Russia has aggressively attacked Ukraine partly against Ukraine's very brave soldiers, but also hospitals, preschools, schools, playgrounds. Children are killed and are taken to Russia against the will of the families. This is a brutality without any limits at all. And instead of putting pressure on Ukraine, the whole world should be putting pressure on Russia. The free world must now increase political, financial, military pressure on President Putin to put an end to this brutal war. From today, we're going to continue working together with Sweden and Ukraine and other partners as well. We're going to work very hard to try to look at different possibilities for long-term funding of Ukraine defense capabilities. And the point of departure is good, let me say. We're all in agreement that a strong Ukraine with a strong defense in place, this is the best long-term protector, not just for Ukraine, but also for all other European nations. And our ability to protect our airspace is, of course, of decisive importance. One important step in this direction may be taken already tomorrow, when the question about frozen Russian assets is going to be discussed once again at the European Council. And it's no coincidence that later this evening we are both flying down to Brussels. Now, even after the war, a long-term funding will be required for the reconstruction of Ukraine and also for their military defense systems. And this issue is naturally also decisive as regards the preconditions for the deal that we are now signing this agreement about. Lastly, Sweden has a proud history of being a world leader when it comes to fighter aircraft. The older generations told us about J-29, J-22, the Lancet, G-35, the Dragon, J-77 Viggen, and now JAS-39 Gripen. This is a unique history and background of our capabilities that we have built up in this country. Few NATO countries have this capacity. And the new aircraft that you can see behind me and President Zelenskyy right now is not just a source of pride for us in Sweden and for Linköping. It is also part of the unique Swedish ability that may help support the security of Sweden, of Ukraine, of Europe. And this is what it's really all about.
Step we're taking today through this Swedish-Ukrainian letter of intent creates the necessary preconditions for a major export deal on the Gripen fighters between our two countries. If we succeed, it will contribute to increased security in our part of the world and will strengthen both Ukraine and Sweden. We fully realize it's a long road ahead of us. But from today, we are committed to exploring all the possibilities in providing Ukraine with a large amount of Gripen fighters in the future. And with that, Over to you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ulf. Thank you very much for having us and for your support, for everything. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dear guests, dear Ulf, dear teams, ministers, dear Sweden, today we are opening a truly new and highly meaningful chapter in our relations between Ukraine and Sweden, and more broadly in Europe's overall security relations. Today we have the first document between our countries that opens the path for Ukraine to obtain a serious fleet, a very serious fleet of Swedish-made fighter jets, Gripens. Yes, these are excellent aircraft, strong aviation platforms, capable of carrying out a wide range of missions. And everyone sees what threats this helps protect against. Russian attacks against our state do not cease, and last night the Russians carried out yet another massive attack against our energy, against our cities, and unfortunately there are fatalities, and among them 2 children, and the youngest child wasn't even a 1-year-old. My condolences to the bereaved family. Last night alone, dozens of people were wounded by hits of Russian missiles and drones. In many regions, unfortunately, there are restrictions on the supply of energy, electricity. In the city of Kharkiv, Russian drones hit a kindergarten. Along the whole contact line with Russian forces, in our front line and border communities, they get hit by hundreds of glide bombs every day, and the Russians can hit us with them solely because they have an advantage in combat aircraft over us, which is why our strategy of defense is a multi-layered defense which is grounded on many things, from air defense systems such as Patriots, NASAMS and others, to combat aircraft. Sweden has been very helpful in this, and today, as Mr. Prime Minister has said, we have started the work to obtain Gripens for Ukraine. We expect the future contract to allow us to receive no fewer than 100 such jets. We clearly understand that this is a process. We clearly understand the financial grounding to implement this contract, which is important for us. We have discussed this with Mr. Prime Minister, with the leadership of Saab company. I'm grateful to Sweden for the readiness to cooperate on this. We appreciate our gratitude to the company Saab, which manufactures Gripen, and the company at whose facility we held today's talks. That's an honor for us. The next year we must do everything to get first real results, to do everything so that the procedures can be finalized in the near future. Procedures always take time, but nonetheless we must do everything to fill our framework agreement with full substantivity. Ukraine has already proven that it can accomplish such tasks quite fast, to train pilots, to train technical crews, to prepare the infrastructure, and now our teams must do everything so that the next year becomes the time of the more substantial implementation of our agreements, the start of usage of Gripens. Of course, we have also discussed other key issues, the energy. I have informed about Mr. Prime Minister about our main needs after Russian attacks. We have spoken about the recovery possibilities, in particular about searching the finances to have a volume of natural gas which will be sufficient for winter. The Russians are targeting our gas production, which is why import has a great meaning. We have also coordinated our positions ahead of the meetings in Brussels and in London, the European Council and the Coalition of the Willing. I have informed Ulf about our communication with America and other partners. The fact of the matter is that Russia only responds to strength of pressure, which is why we brought up the topic of long-range capabilities, i.e. Tomahawks, in our agenda with partners. As soon as Russia heard about Tomahawks, in sufficiently persuasive way, Putin rushed to turn back to diplomacy. Now Russia's desire for diplomacy has faded somewhat, and it is our long-range capabilities that can put Russia to the table in a way to truly end this war. We've discussed the situation with air defense. I thank every partner who has joined the Pearl Initiative, which allows us to procure American weapons in particular, and that's a priority, missiles for Patriots. Sweden is a member of the initiative, and I'm grateful for that. Another important direction for us and for European security overall is sanctions. We are counting on the adoption of 19th sanctions package, and this truly must stop being postponed. Also, one of the things that will truly influence the situation will be a usage of Russian frozen assets to defend against Russian aggression. We are preparing corresponding decisions. This is very much needed, and we very much count on the solidarity and support from Europe. Ukraine never wanted this war. Everybody knows that. The war that Russia launched against us, only Russia. Every day the Russians take lives of our people. They are destroying our cities every day. They have come to our land, and it's absolutely just that we're looking for, and we find the necessary means to defend ourselves, the necessary weapons, the necessary support, the necessary instruments of pressure on the aggressor. I thank everybody who's helping us. Thank you, Ulf, personally, and I'm very grateful to your great state that has helped Ukraine so much, and I'm sure that it will be historic for the Ukraine's independence. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And I think we now open up for questions from the media.
Thank you. So now we open up for questions. So please state your name and your media outlet, and please keep it to one, maximum 2 questions. Yes. And we can start over there.
SVT, Elin Jansson, jag har en fråga till